Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks bringing you your Bitcoin update for the week of Monday, December 29th, 2025. Yes, I guess it would be 2025. So I always like to start with this chart. This goes back almost 10 years. And I start with over a year ago having closed above a 5-year rising channel top that set up a bullish continuation, longer term bullish continuation to the next significant resistance that is a full AB count. In other words, you take that 21 high, you subtract from it the 22 low, and you flip that on its head. The full swing, once you get back above the 21 high, you rally an equal distance to what the previous sell-off was, A minus B plus A, 122,433. We topped out here several times, 4 times if you just count the weekly bars that began in July of this year, and the last one was October, and then we've collapsed, obviously, since then, back to this rising channel top at 86,707. And we could trade inside the mid-80s to the low 120s through Q1, even into the middle part of 26. Now, 86,707 is backed up by what I consider to be a more trend-defining support at 84,026. This is a rising 2-year channel bottom that we actually did test in the middle of November. It held nicely. It is our base of support into later 26. Above 84,026, we can continue to consolidate as long as we're below 95,945, which is the high of the low from that same week we put the low out. And in fact, over the next 3 to 5 months, make our way back into the low 120s or even higher as we continue into later 26. In short, the 2-year trend remains clearly bullish above 84,026. Talking upside once again, 95,945. Is it sellable resistance? It is if you're kind of a 3 to 5 weeks swing trader. This is a good area to take profits on a long position. And if we close above 95,945, I don't think we're going to see the mid-80s anytime soon. We should then continue north. I do have these minor points pegged out. 103,415 is a 50% upside retracement from that October high against that more recent November low, and 113,105 is the low of the high. These are 2 key points. If we close above 95,945, which is not likely this week, but it's between now and the end of January, we should by the end of February reach 103,415. By the end of March into April, 113,105, and as we continue into later Q2, May, June, something like that, I wouldn't be surprised to once again see this 122,433 longer-term resistance. Overall, holding above this, do I show it here? Yes, I do. This is kind of the big picture now. So if you're an investor in Bitcoin, I think you can hold that above 84,026 and anticipate, as we continue over the next full year of trade, this rally from August up to December, this is 4 or 5 months. And really what I'm pointing out here is the possibility of doing the same 4 or 5 months is a possibility up to 135.99. Now, we're not in the same environment that we were then, so we'll just see how that plays out. Let's just say that by the end of 26, we could find ourselves what is now 135 and into the low 140s by April, and by the middle of the year in the upper 140s, et cetera, et cetera. This is a real possibility holding above 84,026. Once again, if you're long and we close above 95,945, sigh of relief. We should continue into the low 120s this could be within 2 to 3 months. And ultimately, as we continue into later 26, 135, that formation in reach as we continue into later 26. Now for the downside, if we were to close this week below 84,026, we have a short-term sell signal, 3 to 5 weeks, I would say, to this trend line at 77,510. We actually tested that in April. It held pretty well. And so this is kind of a short-term trade, but I do say, as I have been for the last few months, that if we do close below 84,026 this week, you should prepare for bearish continuation. This is probably a 2 to 3 month sell signal, a 2 to 3 month sell off to what is now 56,608. I think this is the base of Bitcoin long term as we move through the rest of the decade. It still has relevance above 56,608, can recover nicely as we continue into later decade. But if we close below 56,608, does not look good as a sort of speculative entity. I think it would fade into the background of the other possibilities as we move into later decade. But I don't want to get philosophical here. Holding above 84,026, Bitcoin is still bullish into and actually through 2026. I'm going to leave it at that for this week's Bitcoin update.